Have you ever wondered where technology and creativity intersect? In the heart of this curious crossroads, a new art form emerges, born from the marriage of binary and bard, of code and couplets. This is the realm of algorithmic poetry, where the rhythmic cadence of verses meets the precise logic of programming. Imagine, if you will, algorithms, those detailed sets of instructions that power our digital world, weaving together words to create poetry. It might seem like an unlikely pairing, the cold, calculated world of technology dancing with the passionate, subjective world of literature, but just as the most beautiful of bridges span the most challenging of chasms, so too does algorithmic poetry link these two disparate domains. So fasten your seatbelts, dear listeners, as we embark on a journey of discovery and intrigue. In the next few minutes, we will delve into the fascinating world of algorithmic poetry, where codes can create verses. The history of algorithmic poetry is as compelling as the poetry itself. This intriguing blend of artistry and technology has a rich and varied history. It's a fascinating journey, marked by the evolution of poetry from a simple combination of words and phrases to complex structures created by algorithms. The genesis of algorithmic poetry can be traced back to the mid-20th century, a time marked by rapid advancements in technology and a growing interest in exploring new artistic mediums. A few visionary minds began experimenting with the idea of using algorithms, a set of instructions or rules, as a means to generate poetry. This was a radical departure from the traditional approach to poetry, where the poet was the sole creator of the work. One notable pioneer in the field was Brian Gysin, an artist and writer who, in the 1960s, developed the cut-up technique. This involved cutting up a text into individual words and phrases, and then rearranging them to create new works of poetry. Gysin's method was a precursor to algorithmic poetry, demonstrating how a systematic approach could yield unexpected and intriguing results. As the years went by, the field of algorithmic poetry continued to evolve, with contributors pushing the boundaries of what was possible. The advent of the personal computer in the late 20th century marked a significant turning point. This technological breakthrough allowed for the development of more complex algorithms capable of generating increasingly sophisticated poetic structures. The rise of the internet in the 90s further propelled the growth of algorithmic poetry. Digital platforms provided a space for poets and programmers to collaborate, share ideas, and create new and innovative works. This period also saw the emergence of a number of influential figures, such as Nick Montfort, a poet and computer scientist who made significant contributions to the field. From its humble beginnings, algorithmic poetry has grown into an intriguing blend of art and technology. Today, it stands as a testament to the limitless potential of human creativity when combined with the power of modern technology. Like any art form, algorithmic poetry has undergone a fascinating evolution. This evolution has been driven by two parallel forces: the advancement of computer technology and the imaginative exploration of artists and programmers alike. In the beginning, algorithmic poetry was a relatively simple process. Poets would use basic programs to randomly combine words and phrases, creating unexpected juxtapositions and serendipitous moments of beauty. These early experiments were intriguing, but they lacked the depth and complexity of traditional poetry. The poems were often nonsensical or disjointed, and while they could be amusing or thought-provoking, they didn't quite capture the human experience the way that handcrafted poetry could. But as technology advanced, so did the possibilities for algorithmic poetry. The advent of machine learning and natural language processing allowed for a much more sophisticated approach. Instead of just randomly choosing words, algorithms could now analyze large amounts of text, learn patterns and structures, and generate poetry that was more coherent and meaningful. These new algorithms could mimic the style of specific poets, recreate the rhythm and rhyme schemes of various poetic forms, and even generate new metaphors and similes. They could take a seed of inspiration, a word, a phrase, a theme, and transform it into a fully formed poem. The results were often surprisingly poignant and profound, blurring the line between human and machine creativity. But even as these algorithms became more advanced, they were still tools in the hands of artists. poets and programmers work together to refine the algorithms, to guide their creativity, and to shape the final result. This collaboration between humans and machines created a new kind of poetry, one that was both technically impressive and emotionally resonant. The evolution of algorithmic poetry is a testament to the limitless possibilities when we combine technology and creativity. This unique art form continues to evolve, pushing the boundaries of what we consider poetry, and challenging our preconceptions about the nature of creativity. And as technology continues to advance, who knows what the future of algorithmic poetry might hold? But how exactly does an algorithm create a poem? Well, let's dive right into the fascinating mechanics of algorithmic poetry. Imagine a poet, pen in hand, ideas whirling as they craft a beautiful piece of art. Now replace that poet with a computer programmer, the pen with lines of code, and the ideas with algorithms. That, in essence, is the process of creating algorithmic poetry. At its core, algorithmic poetry is the result of a series of computations and rules defined by the programmer. These rules, or algorithms, dictate the structure, rhythm, and even the themes of the poem. They can be as simple as a rule that places a noun after every adjective, or as complex as a rule that uses machine learning to generate poetry based on a database of classic literature. But what are the variables at play here? They can be numerous and diverse. It could be the length of the poem, the number of syllables per line, or the rhyming pattern. It might even be the sentiment or emotion the poem should convey. Let's consider an example to better illustrate this. Say we have an algorithm designed to generate a haiku. The algorithm would need to know that a haiku consists of 3 lines with 5, 7, and 5 syllables respectively. It would also need a database of words to choose from, perhaps categorized by syllable count and part of speech. Then, with a bit of randomness and creativity thrown into the mix, the algorithm churns out a haiku, unique and unexpected. Algorithms can also create different types of poetry. From sonnets to limericks, free verse to couplets, the possibilities are truly endless. All it takes is a cleverly designed algorithm and a dash of creativity. So we see that algorithmic poetry is not just code spitting out words, it's a complex dance of rules and randomness, creativity and computation that can create poems as diverse and intricate as any written by human hands. Through the power of algorithms, we can create poetry that is as diverse and intricate as any written by human hands. As we look ahead, one can't help but wonder what the future holds for algorithmic poetry. This fascinating fusion of code, creativity, and literature is on the cusp of an exciting new era. Imagine a world where artificial intelligence is not just a tool, but a co-creator. A world where the machine doesn't just follow instructions, but understands, learns, and even innovates. This is the world that advancements in technology, particularly artificial intelligence, could usher in for algorithmic poetry. In this future, the algorithms we use to create poetry could become more advanced, more nuanced. They could learn to understand and mimic the subtleties of human emotion, the complexities of our experiences, and the depth of our thoughts. This could lead to the creation of poems that are not just technically perfect, but also emotionally resonant and intellectually stimulating. But what does this mean for poets and the literary world at large? On one hand, this could open up new avenues for creativity. Poets could collaborate with these advanced algorithms, using them as a tool to push the boundaries of their craft. They could create works that are a blend of human emotion and artificial intelligence, a fusion of the timeless and the cutting edge. On the other hand, this could also challenge the traditional notions of authorship and creativity. If a poem is created by an algorithm, who is the real author? Is it the programmer who wrote the code, the machine that generated the poem, or a combination of both? And what does this mean for the reader? Will they connect with these poems in the same way they connect with traditional poetry? These are questions that we may need to grapple with as we move further into the future of algorithmic poetry. But one thing is certain: as technology continues to advance, so too will the world of algorithmic poetry, opening up new avenues for creativity and expression. Algorithmic poetry is a remarkable intersection of technology and creativity. As we bring this exploration to a close, let's reflect on the key insights we've unearthed. We delved into the fascinating history of algorithmic poetry, tracing its roots back to the mid-20th century. We saw how it has evolved over the years, morphing from simple computer-generated verses to complex, emotionally charged pieces. We then delved into the mechanics of algorithmic poetry, where we unraveled the intricate blend of code and creativity that powers these poems. We saw how carefully crafted algorithms can take simple words and phrases and weave them into a tapestry of poetry. And of course, we looked to the future, a future where algorithmic poetry could redefine the boundaries of art and technology. As we continue to explore the possibilities of this intriguing blend of art and science, one thing is certain: the world of poetry will never be the same.